Welcome back to Two Canadians at Kafe Lise, a Vigor podcast, episode 14. Today we're going to be talking about consumables. Not the last time we did a consumable one, it was all about tools and such. This time it's going to be heels. And I should introduce ourselves, and I totally missed that part. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dr. Anton, and with me is the other host,
DJ Spencer.
There we go. And this might be a little bit shorter episode, but every time we say that, we end up talking for an hour anyways, so we'll see how it goes. But because we're talking about heels this time around, it really probably will be a bit quicker. But we will also touch base on stuff like maps and where you can find, good places to go for free heels on maps. So we'll try to pad it out a little bit. But again, not a huge topic because there's not a lot of healing consumables. But we figured it'd be a good, good to have a little episode where we sort of touch base on them and discuss them. Just you may know the basics about heels, but we might be able to give you a bit more information that might help. Yeah, but before we get into that, and this, I didn't talk to DJ about this. I had a quick question for DJ. It's sort of off topic, but I figure, we don't do that too often on the podcast. So I figured it might be interesting, and at some point maybe he'll have an off topic for me. You never know. There's been a few times now where you have played games with our friends over in the UK. You've been guest on a few streams. You've been on IX War Dog stream, and you've been on Dizzy's stream.
Yeah.
My question is, have you noticed with the difference, because you're playing across regions, have you noticed any weirdness? Because quite often when you're playing something like Shootout, you can really notice the lag in Shootout, and we like to think it's because of all these people playing from different regions. Have you noticed anything weird like that, playing duos and trios like that?
The only time that it was really, really bad was the other night with Dizzy.
Right.
There was like massive rubber banding, and I think he even complained about it too. And I literally, at the time, I was on top of like a mountain by Old Geezers. On Fjellkanten.
Yep.
And literally, if I'm standing on top of a mountain, I don't stand still, right? I usually either go in a circle pattern or zigzag. And so in this instance, I was actually trying to just walk around in circles because I knew someone was kind of in the area, but I couldn't see them. And
right.
I swear to God, I did like a triple loop in 3 seconds or something like that. It was like probably the worst rubber banding I've ever had. But aside from that, I don't think I've had many issues.
Okay.
Aside from that one that was pronounced. But
and that was out of a bunch. You did a number of matches, so that's one match maybe that was really bad.
Yeah. We played with Dizzy. It was about 2 hours and a half or 2 hours and 45 minutes. And that was the only one that was a really known issue. And even with other players in the match, I know some players were from North America as well. And Dizzy was the one doing all the searching. So ideally, we're going based on his servers or his regional servers, right? But so any players that I met up with, be it European or North American, no one really rubber banded, in my opinion. So
interesting. I was just kind of curious because I have noticed, like I said, mostly in Shootout where you get a lot of that. But I have had games even in solos, not usually duos, where I've had really bad lag and rubber banding and all that.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious, is that because there's people from other, because they do match you up. They try to do the best at matching you up with people in your regions. But, after a certain amount of time, they'll throw anybody together kind of thing. So,
yeah. And I have I've done community shootout games with I think Tiny and Jess and a couple other ones, and even I got matched up with Game Blouses last week, I think it was, in a shootout, and it like it just seems like it's server based or something. It's hard to say because
Yeah, yeah.
it's not just like who you're matched up against, like the player location. It's hard for me to narrow it down. I know in one of the dev streams they've actually kind of mentioned that they've turned on um, like debugging, I guess, more
Right.
debugging to try to get more info out of that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I want to say the encounters themselves, it wasn't too bad.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, it could be like whatever server you potentially get on whatever virtual server out there hosts that particular game. Maybe there's one out there that just has some issues, and
Yeah,
it's like you just randomly sometimes get on that wrong server, and it causes all this
yeah.
weirdness. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
way to
Okay.
put me
That
under the mic there, or under the spotlight there, right off the bat. Like tough
right off the
questions
bat.
out of the blue. It's like, oh man.
Well, I
Uh,
figured this is a subject matter, where we probably won't have a lot of time to, we'll have a little bit of extra time. So I figured it'd be a good time to throw in something.
okay.
All right. Okay. But now we can, I guess, get back into it.
Yeah.
We'll get into the actual meat of the episode. So yeah, consumables. We'll go through each type of consumable. Just talk about it, the basics of each one, what it does, and all that. Um, and if we have any side things we can throw in about a particular consumable, we will as we talk about it. And I guess we'll start with we'll go by rarity, and we'll start with like the special issue down to common. So work our way down. So the top being iodine. It's the only
Yeah.
gold healing consumable. I need a level 13 crafting table to be able to make it. If you want to make it, if you don't have parts, you can make it with parts, no problem. Um, what it does, it temporarily it has like one of those little ticking circles that goes down when you use it. It stops health reduction from radiation. So as you get hit by radiation, whether it be from the amount of time that you've been on the map, or if you pick up the crate which has been irradiated, you start taking damage from radiation, and iodine gives you a short period of time where you're not taking damage. Conceivably, you could stay on the map for quite a long time if you had enough iodine with you. As soon as the end of the game starts or whatever. Um, Half Metal Fox did a video on it, so I recommend checking it out. It's really entertaining. He goes in with like 60 some or even more. I can't remember, but I think he got to using like 30 or so iodine before the game kicked him out. It's like, okay, you've been here long enough, get out. So there is a time limit, but that's kind of neat. Um,
And he got to keep everything, right? Like
yeah,
I
it
think you
it,
mentioned.
it it it
Okay.
acted as if he had left on his own. So it acted as if he
Okay.
had left the match. So it didn't like kill him or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was
I
kind of
I
cool.
still need to check that one out
Yeah,
for sure.
it's entertaining, definitely entertaining. He does a lot of fast forwarding in it because otherwise it'd be a really long video.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I can't think of any. No, I can't think of any challenges that pop up that use iodine, because there are challenges that
No.
require you to use certain types of healing sometimes, but that's not
Yeah.
one of them. Uh, we were looking at different things like crafting and all that. So I mentioned that you have to have a level 13 crafting table. The base cost to make iodine, if you haven't gotten any discounts yet, is 10,200 materials. So it's pretty expensive to make one iodine.
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure for price reduction. I'm not sure what the highest level price reduction is when you get to level 13. Do you have an inkling? Um, I
I
know.
want to say it's like
Is it like
30% or something
30%?
like.
Because I know well, we were doing the
I don't
calculations
remember.
on this. We were using my
Yeah.
PlayStation account, which only had a level 3 chemical distillation, and that was a 9%. And I think the next level would have been 10 or 11%. So at level 4. So yeah, it may go to, we don't know. We don't have the full thing, but yeah. So it's pretty pricey to make iodine if you haven't found parts.
Oh, sorry, 60%.
Oh, 60% is your max. Okay. So
Yeah.
you can get up to a 60% reduction in price, which would still put it in the
From the looks of it.
4,000 range. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
still
still pricey.
kind of pricey. Crafting time, the base crafting is 60 minutes when you have no reduction in crafting. And for deconstruction, it starts out at 3,060. So you get 3,060 materials out of every bottle of iodine or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can really think of for iodine.
Now, now one thing I like about iodine, Doc, like I think we talk about it a lot,
Yeah.
is like the deconstruction value, because like we kind of talked about it before. Um, like we'll use it if we're in an encounter,
And we're like trying to
but
get to
like
an exit kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. If you know someone else is like still on the map and they might kind of like cut you off at an exit, you might pop it, because the earlier you pop it, the better, because that way it's keeping your health longer, your maximum health for longer. So then the other person may have a lower health bar, and you know you may just have to hit them like once or twice instead of them hitting you 3 4 times, right?
Right.
um, but other than that, like it's great for deconstructing to get materials. And recently this season with the changes in the loot events,
Mm.
I find I'm coming out of the encounters with like more iodine than before.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I'm finding it more often,
Yeah.
because you could find it like you could easily find 3 of them if you hit like the cash spots and some of the loot events.
Right.
So
Yeah, like the safes will sometimes have it. The not the lock container doesn't typically have any kind of healing, I
no,
don't believe. But yeah, it's not, and if you know where to look too, you can also, and as we go through maps, we'll point
yeah.
out if we know of good spots for different types of things. But yeah, you can definitely come out with some good iodine, and yeah, I try not to stay so long that I need it. I always try to get out
Yeah.
before needing it, just so I can keep it. Yeah, for sure, because you get enough of that. You get 100 of those, and deconstruct them, you get a lot of materials, and you can really,
Yeah.
yeah, stock up
Oh
on your
yeah.
materials. Yeah,
And one thing I like to pick up from like the cash bot is always the iodine part,
yeah,
because they add up and it's like a free iodine, right? It's not cheap to make, and
yep.
you grab I don't remember how many parts it takes, but like it adds up, right? And it's free material for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, same thing with the buried cache. Always make sure to at least grab that iodine part. If I can take some other parts, some of the other healing parts, that'd be great. But yeah, I always take the iodine one for sure. Okay, what's next?
Next is the antibiotic. That restores your health over time. So you pop it and it slowly increases your current health. It's a blue rare item. You need a crafting table of level 7. It's going to cost you 4,200 material and 20 minutes of crafting time. It'll deconstruct for 360 material, according to our calculations. Again,
Yeah, we were doing our best to reverse calculate based on
yeah,
our current level of discounts and all that, and we think we got it pretty close. Yeah,
yeah. Math is hard.
math is
Like, oh my
hard.
god, like it's like I'm a computer science major, and like I had almost a minor in like mathematics, and it's like I haven't used like
Reverse
fancy math
percentages
like
and yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
like oh my god, it's brutal.
It is.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely like a powerful healing tool, because you could basically restore your full health, assuming you're not going to take any damage or anything like that.
Hmm.
um so yeah,
Yeah.
that's the antibiotic.
And antibiotics is one where there are, at least I get them, challenges in relation to antibiotics. But then there's also ones that aren't necessarily in relation to antibiotics, where antibiotics are really good for. And
Mhm.
case in point, so yeah, I quite often get the use so many antibiotics, and that's simple. But there are some tricks to it, I find, because vigor can be a little weird sometimes. um,
Mhm.
if I have to do any challenge that requires me to use a consumable, whether it be healing or not, if I as soon as if I select a consumable and use it right away, like too quickly, it'll use the consumable, but it won't always count to my challenge. And I find I have to like
Oh,
select the consumable, wait a second, then do the consumable, and I don't know if it's related to the animation or not, but to make sure I do get the
okay,
animation, and then it counts every time. So,
okay.
because I've had times where I've used it, and I was just maybe a little too quick, and it doesn't count. It's like, oh, ugh, that's so annoying.
Okay.
Yeah. But the other challenge that it's good for, there's a challenge that I've
Mm.
had quite often where you have to heal so much health, um,
Yeah.
over whatever. So like heal 2,500, or maybe not 2,500, but 250 health.
250. Yeah.
And there are different levels too, because you can get better crates out of it if it's a higher level, like heal more health, like 1,500.
Yeah.
I think I've had like a 1,500 health one, and
Uh,
I could be wrong. Don't quote me
I
on it.
want I want to say it's 250, 500, and 1,000.
Okay, maybe it's 1,000. That's probably
Yeah.
possible. But the trick with iodine is you don't have to be hurt much to use iodine, and like, even if it's like a bee sting, like if I'm in Grontheim and
You
I'm,
mean antibiotic?
what did I say?
You said iodine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about antibiotics. Yes, we're talking about antibiotics. If I misspeak, we're talking about antibiotics. Okay. But if I even take one health damage, say from a bee, it lets me use the iodine antibiotics. And what happens is it'll heal that one point for you, but then it'll keep ticking the health, even though you're not getting any health back. It keeps ticking it for the challenge.
Yeah.
So you'll get like
Yeah.
100 health healed from one iodine, even if you didn't need it, as long as you could just use it.
Yeah.
So that's a really good trick. Who knows if it'll still be around? This is currently season 8 as we're recording this.
Yeah.
We're recording. I never mentioned at the beginning. It's May 22nd, so we're a few weeks into the season 8. Maybe not quite I don't know. Maybe we're into a month.
We're almost a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're about a month into it. There's still lots of time left, but at this point in
Mhm.
time, it works that way. I don't remember if it worked that way before, because I don't remember if I've ever, I probably did get this challenge before, but I don't know if I ever tried that. So
Yeah.
it definitely works this season. We'll see in the future, but it's a good little shortcut for that heal so much health. Yeah. So next, it's always antibiotics. Next is
Yeah.
caffeine. It's an uncommon, so it's one of the green. There are two green ones, and it's one of them. What caffeine does is it'll stop you from losing stamina. So basically, it puts your stamina at full, regardless of where your stamina was at. So if you wait till the very last second before using it, like when you're out of stamina, you use caffeine, boom, you have full stamina. It gives you one of those
Mhm.
little countdown circles, so it lasts for a little bit before it goes away, and you can run full out. And then when it wears out, then your stamina is still at full, but then it'll start going down like normal. It needs a level 4 crafting table.
Mhm.
The base cost is 3,600 to produce. Materials, 5 minutes is your base crafting time, and when you go to deconstruct it, it's 540 materials to deconstruct one caffeine, which is
Yeah.
a decent return, because it's even better than deconstructing antibiotics,
Yeah.
which is funny. But yeah, maybe I don't know.
I hope it's not our math that's wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible, but I don't think
yeah.
so.
Who
So
knows?
that's one of those things that may get
Yeah.
adjusted. Maybe maybe they made a mistake somewhere, or maybe it's on purpose. Who knows?
Yeah. So another thing about caffeine that's really good about it is if you use a caffeine pill and you have a sniper weapon, if you are kneeling or standing and you're scoped in, you don't actually have to hold your breath, or that amount of time you're holding your breath is extended.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
if you're on the ground prone, like you could hold your breath forever, right? Because
Right.
you're prone. But if you're kneeling or sorry, crouched is the actual term, crouched
Right.
or standing, uh, that time is extended. I haven't personally done it because I try to save my caffeine for, either if I'm overweight and I'm trying to exit the encounter and someone's chasing me, or
Right.
radiation, or if I'm trying to catch up to someone, or I'll even bring it back and I'll deconstruct it. Um, you could also technically use it if people want to bring it in. You can technically use it to like try to rush a certain area. Like if you want to try to get to like signals first or something like that, you could always do that. But
Yeah.
me, I'm in no rush.
No. Yeah,
Like
no, I'm
I'm
not usually either.
yeah, like I'm laid back, right? So it's like I don't need
Yeah.
caffeine. It's like I don't need to be somewhere fast.
No, and I don't usually bring it in myself either. So if I find it in an encounter, then I'll usually hold on to it for sure. And I sort of use it with iodine. So it's like the one
Yeah,
two punch. If I'm staying late into an encounter, I'll use caffeine to try to get us, to an exit quickly, and then iodine to keep me going if I'm not going to make it. So I like to have the
yeah.
two, one or the other or both if possible. But that's only if I find it. I don't bring it in either. So, but that yeah, using it for scoping is good. So I guess if you're really planning on if you're going into a sniper map, it's consider it's I'd consider bringing it in, knowing that now. If I was
Mhm.
really planning on doing a lot of like scoping in and trying to get some shots off, but I don't play that way usually. So
Yeah,
yeah, but it's a
yeah.
neat trick. Yeah,
Same. I don't do it. I've heard a couple people do it on their streams or in they've mentioned in chats.
yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just another use that I didn't know about, and I'm just trying to share the knowledge.
No, that's cool. Okay.
Um,
What's next?
next next on the list is painkillers. So painkiller temporarily restores all your health. It's an uncommon consumable. It requires a level 5 crafting table. It's going to cost you the same thing as the caffeine pill, so 3,600, crafting time of 5 minutes. Deconstruction cost is you're only getting 180 material, which is, a little
Yeah,
underwhelming, I guess you could say.
yeah.
Um,
It's weird how they're so different. Yeah,
so it is what it is.
yeah.
But in my opinion, painkillers is more valuable than a caffeine pill,
Mm-hmm.
because like if you're in the middle of a fight and you take a lot of damage, you pop the painkiller, your health is instantly like it's like 1 or 2 seconds to pop, and then you're back at full health, and then over time it kind of like decreases,
Yep.
and it combos well with the antibiotic. So usually what I try to do, pop the painkiller to get full health, pop the antibiotic, and then get back to the fight,
Yeah.
and try to get back in there.
Yeah, because
Now,
they both pop really fast. Like they're both like
yes,
they don't take long to do. Not like bandages or disinfectants. They're like quick. Yeah.
exactly. Um, now, one thing to take note, um, I think this changed like season 3 or 4, but you could actually die. I've had this happen to
Oh.
me, I think twice, where you die it on the death screen. It says you died to painkillers. So what happens is you pop a painkiller, and then you'll keep taking more damage. Now the painkiller health is, I believe it's yellow or orange.
Right. Yeah.
Your regular health is white.
Yeah.
So you take more damage after you pop the painkiller. Your white damage or your white health decreases or it's completely gone. You're left with just the painkiller health. Once that runs out, you die. I've
Yeah.
had that
If
happen twice.
yeah.
And that's when on the health screen it actually shows, or the exit screen, that, and it
Uh,
is kind of funny, but
that's
it's
funny.
happened to me twice, just so people know. And apparently it changed at some point. I don't know when, and I've had a discussion with a couple other people, and they're not 100% sure when that changed, but
Okay.
that's the way it works.
Oh,
So
yeah, and I've never died to painkillers. But you definitely want to. I usually take. Yeah, I always take because no matter even on PlayStation, I take a painkiller and one or two antibiotics. But then I take a lot of heals. I don't know. I guess I'm paranoid. I take a couple of
mhm,
disinfectants and a bandage too. So, if you're using the painkillers, yeah, you use them right away with antibiotics. But antibiotics are slow. So, if you like you said, if you take some damage, which puts you below, antibiotics might still be working, but
mhm.
they're taking you from me. I don't know how that works. If you have like a negative health value, does the antibiotics work from the negative, or does it reset to zero each time until you stop taking damage? I don't know. I don't know how antibiotics.
That's
Um,
a good question.
yeah, I don't know if they'll continue from like a negative value. So if
Could,
you're in a negative value and they're working your way up, but you're not quite at zero yet, and then painkillers
Yeah,
and
because now that I think about it, usually when like I'm just in the painkiller health bar type thing,
yeah,
I'll actually pop a disinfectant just to make sure I have that white health.
yeah.
Uh,
And
but then I
disinfectant,
don't.
I don't. Yeah, I'm assuming must
Yeah,
come start from zero, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
So that's a
Huh.
good question.
Yeah. Yeah. It is actually. Now I'm kind of
I'm a little afraid to try it out.
Now I'm thinking next dev stream I have a question. See if they'll what they say if they even would know how to answer it, because that
Yeah,
might be like a programmer question, and and Parrot may not know the answer to that, and depends on who she has as a guest that night or
and
that
they might
stream.
not even know like just off the top of their head, right? Like they
Yeah.
might have to go back to the code to figure it out.
But they do quite often ask, for questions ahead of time. So if I ever see that,
Yeah,
I'll try asking because I'm really curious now. See if
yeah.
if we can get an answer. Cool. Um, yeah, we covered everything on there, and we didn't say it with caffeine either. But caffeine and painkillers, I haven't seen challenges related to them. So I've never seen like use the painkillers or use caffeine.
Um,
So I don't know. Have you?
pain painkillers I have seen.
Oh, you have seen? Okay.
Yeah.
It seems certain people get certain challenges and others don't. It's weird because I tend to get the ones where play with a friend, and you don't seem to get those very often. So it's like
No.
I don't know how that works, but
Yeah, and it's funny because I've had you were talking earlier. Sorry, we're kind of like doing a
yeah,
segue,
that's all
like
good.
we usually do, but
Yeah,
you kind of mentioned how like you had the challenges where it was like heals for like 250 and then like it scaled up type thing.
yeah,
I've had some of those challenges kind of like happen to me like on back to back days, right? Where it's
yeah.
like I'd have one level the first day, second level, and it's like it's always the same challenge, but I'm like it's just different. Like it was craft
Hmm.
like 3 rifles, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
the next one was 5 rifles, and then the next one was 10. But by like the 10, I was already out of weapon parts and stuff like that, and I was just like,
You're
ah,
scrambling. Do I have any other rifles I
yeah,
can make? What
yeah,
weird rifle that I never use can I make? Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Or
Actually, no, it was the it was a SMGs. That's
SMGs.
what it was,
Yeah, I've seen
and
that
I
one
had
too.
them. Yeah, I. But anyways,
It doesn't seem to
anyways,
always scale up though, but yeah, like sometimes I'll get one and then I'll have it for a couple days. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool if it did have like a cycling one sort of where you get like the different levels each day or something. Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be another good question. How do you guys determine how challenges are doled out? Like how
yeah,
random is it? Or yeah, cool.
yeah.
Okay. So that was painkillers.
Painkillers.
So next we're on to our commons, and the first one is bandages. Bandages are a really good one because they will heal you half of whatever health damage you've taken. So it's one that you don't want to use if you have only taken a little bit of damage because you're not going
Hmm.
to get much out of it. But if you're taking a lot of damage, bandages are really good because it's like boom, you get like a bunch of healing right away. Though they are the slowest one to use, so like it takes a good couple seconds, 2-3 seconds to use them because you're like wrapping a bandage around.
Yep.
So if you're in a fight, it's not the first one you're going to go for usually, um, but sometimes you have no choice if that's what you have.
Yeah.
But they, like I said, so they restore half of your lost health. You need like a crafting table 3 to make them, so it doesn't take long before you're able to make them. Those
Hmm.
first few crafting tables build up pretty quickly. 1,600 materials and cost. 10 seconds to make them without any reduction in time. And when you deconstruct them, you get like 80 materials for them, so they're not really worth deconstructing. You could have 1,000 of them, and like maybe you get 8,000 materials for, it, and it's like I just all of this for just that, and it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
So they're ones just good to hold on to.
Yeah.
But then these are also ones where I have received challenges to use bandages. Not often, but I have had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the easiest challenges to do, right? Because say you have to use 3 bandages, like you said, it restores half the health, right? So you take like fall damage once, you could use 3 bandages, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not like I said. I've seen it. It's been a while too. So who knows if it's still around? I
Yeah,
don't know. I
I've
can't
had
think
it.
of. Yeah, you have. Okay, so it's been a
Yeah.
while since I've seen it, but I have seen it, so I know for sure it exists. But yeah, bandages. It's just basic. Half the health. It's a really good consumable. I always try to take one with me, but because everything they're so cheap that if I need space, I'll chuck them quickly. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely the first thing that I delete, really.
yeah. If I need space, bandages are gone. Yeah. If I'm not looking to get into, if I'm at the point where okay, I need to make space because I want to get out and I want to take as much loot with me as possible. Yeah, bandages are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's bandages. I don't have much to say about bandages, so go
I
ahead.
honestly don't carry them. Like
Yeah,
if
I
I
always take
find
one.
them
I always
and
take
I
one.
need them, yeah. See, no, I don't. Like I'll find them, and same thing with you. I'll
Hmm.
deconstruct them if, but no.
I won't even bother deconstructing them because you don't get much out of
Uh,
them. So,
sorry, I meant delete them from
oh,
my
delete them.
inventory.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
when I need space. Okay, and then last on the list is the disinfectant. It heals minor injuries. I think it's like 20 HP or so, like that. Like, because you need to pop like 4 or 5 to get full health, I
To get full
believe.
health, if you're
Uh,
like right at the sliver, yeah, it could be 20 to 25 health or something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense.
So this one you could craft right away.
Hmm.
Um, crafting table level 1. It costs you 500 material, 5 seconds to craft, and to deconstruct one, you get 50 materials. So again, you're not getting a whole lot. It's pretty good because you know it kind of like painkillers and caffeine. It takes only a couple of seconds to like pop or antibiotics.
Yep.
Um, so it's good like in a quick bind if you're in the middle of a fight and you don't have like something like a painkiller or you don't have time to pop a bandage. It's good for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the disinfectants.
Yeah. Again, basic. They're good. I always take a couple with me.
Yeah,
And there may be challenges related around the disinfectants. I can't say for sure on that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think yeah, disinfectants, bandages, antibiotics are the main ones I've seen challenges for, and just healing general health. So, and then I think you
Um,
did you say you painkillers? I think you've seen painkiller ones. Yeah,
yes, I've
yeah,
seen
okay,
painkillers.
right.
Um, so I don't know. I just added this to the list. But
Yeah,
how about we talk about what you personally bring out
yeah,
in the
and
counter?
I did mention before. So my typical loadout is a painkiller, a couple of one or two disinfectants. I guess it depends on how much of a stash I have of them, because most of this stuff is stuff I've found in raid and brought back with me, or in
Mhm.
encounters I set and brought back. I don't. The only thing I really spend time making are disinfectants, and that's about it. Like I think the only thing I really make are disinfectants. Everything else I've
Mhm.
found and brought back out because these a lot of these things you'll find in, like we said, safes, in the buried cache and that kind of thing. So and in houses, and we'll talk about locations that. But if you know where to look, you can find quite a few heals and bring them out with you. So you get quite a bit of a stash, which is nice. And so, like I said, the only thing I really make are disinfectants. So I usually have a pretty good stash of them, and so I'll bring, like I
Yeah.
said, a disinfectant, one or two antibiotics, a bandage, and a couple disinfectants. So that's my usual heals rollout when I head out. Um,
Okay.
yeah, how about you?
Um, Personally, I mostly run solos. When I run solos, I like to bring one antibiotic, one painkiller, and usually I'll bring 2 disinfectants. Sometimes 3 if I. Most of the time, not gonna lie, it's because I forgot to like
Unload,
reset my loadout or
reset.
something like that.
Yeah,
Um, if I'm running like duos or trios, sometimes I'll actually add in like an extra painkiller or antibiotic, so like 2, 2, and 2 type thing.
sure. Yeah,
But yeah, that's pretty much what I bring in for my heals, anyways.
yeah.
Um,
And usually, if I'm packing more antibiotics, like I typically would do one antibiotic. But if I'm getting especially if I get those challenges where it wants me to heal so much health, then I like to
yeah,
pack a second, because if I can get both off in one match, I can usually get that challenge done in one or two matches, and not have to
yeah,
worry about it.
yep,
Okay, now we're going to move on just to talk about. We'll try to go quickly through this part, but it's to talk about the maps. What
yeah.
where on certain maps can you find heals? Just just to give you a thought of, if I'm on this map, I'm near this location, I should go check there for heals. Some people like to go in with no heals, and so have knowing where to look for them it can be really beneficial for you. But like I said, I usually take some in, but having more is always good, and bringing it out gives me a good stash of them. So yeah,
Yep.
we'll go through each map, and there's some maps that are pretty bare, but we'll talk about every map and just give you a quick little rundown. So what's
Yep.
our first map?
So our first map, we're going to talk about Viktorsen Station.
And these are in no
Um,
particular order. We just sort of threw all
yeah,
the maps as we could remember them and did them. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's like threw them all together. It's like threw them on
we can't even
like on
say
the
it's
wall, and it's like
reversed
yeah,
alphabetical or anything. It's like all over the place.
no, threw them at a dartboard and just like this is
Yeah,
the order.
yeah,
So Viktorsen Station, the one place that we off the top of our head pretty much guaranteed you can find iodine here is called the Forest Outpost. So it's kind of like between Hideout. It's on the right hand side of the map. There's Hideout, which has the portable signal, or not the portable, but
the
the signal
signals.
tower,
Yeah,
and the guest house. It's kind of like between there. It's not a named location, or no, it is named location. I just had the name of it.
yeah.
Anyways, you go in there. There's usually a crate, and that kind of looks like a food crate, but it's there, and it usually has the guaranteed one iodine. So,
Yeah, and
uh,
there's a couple different places it can be. So like, there's a phone on a bench. So there's a
yep,
crate beside that bench, so that you can have it. Or there's a crate in the back of the tent on the other opposite corner. So one of those
yep,
two locations will generally have the iodine.
yep,
Yeah,
exactly. And
and
that's pretty much on Viktorsen Station, the only
yeah,
place we could think of off the top of our head that would have it. There may be more, but
yeah.
um,
It's like, there's a lot of places we can think of that might have parts. Parts are
yep.
quite plentiful, but yeah, for other heals, Victorsen's a little scarce. Yeah.
And if we forget something for any map, leave us a comment.
Yeah, if we don't know of one, or if there's like a really good place in Victorson to get heals, let us know. We'd love to know about it for sure.
Yep, for sure.
Next is battery, and this goes for both batteries. So whether you're in the snow or, pardon me, yes, whether it's snow decked or the um, battery drog, is that drog? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, either map, it's the same. The motel, which is the bottom uh, sort of southeast corner.
Yep.
There's those two exits that are right beside each other. The exit with the pier is the motel, and it's the red house. And there's a lot of heels around that spot. So either around or in that house, you can find quite a few heals.
Mhm.
So really good location to get some heals. You'll find pretty much everything. I found painkillers, iodine.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much
The full
disinfectants.
gamut.
Yeah, full
Yeah.
gamut's there. Yeah, you just have to check everywhere, like around and in. Well, when I say around, it's mostly one side of the house. It's where there's an RV and a car that are. The
Yep.
car's not always there, but the RV is. That little corner of the house, there's a few locations. There's a picnic table. The back entrance of the house usually has a container that you can get heals, and then it's looking all throughout the house.
Yep.
Yeah. Other
Um,
than that, battery again, it's you might find some heals here or there, but nothing guaranteed, and parts, mostly parts.
yeah. Next is Fiske Fabrikk, which there's three main sites.
Yeah.
The campsite in the mountains. So that's kind of like on the western side, where there's a fire pit and then there's like some tents around. There's usually at least one consumable container there. The next one would be the Endless Lookout. That's kind of like closer towards the middle of the map. You're kind of like you can see campsite in the mountains from it,
Yeah. There's like a
and there's like
big
a
gap.
picnic table.
Yeah, there's a big gap
Yeah,
between campsite and this one. So like there's a path, and it's sort of you're above the tunnels here. But yeah, and
yeah,
then signal show up there too, or no? But
yeah.
a comp station.
Signals there.
Signal could be
No,
there.
it's a signals.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of the riskier ones, right? Because there's like open sight lines everywhere
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, on the picnic table and sometimes on the ground, you could get, I think it's two or three consumable crate containers, which is another good spot. And then the last spot is Lover's Lookout, which is the POI. bottom right, it's actually like high up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Um,
So like
it's
Johansson's, whatever it's called, Johansson's something.
it's Lonely Johansson's.
Yeah, Lonely
Yeah,
Johansson's is sort of like the last house there, and it's like up in the
yeah,
mountains, sort of south of Lonely Johansson's, is where this Lover's Lookout is. Yeah,
yeah. And it's like it's really out of the way. Like
it's
unless
weird.
I spawn right there, I'm not going there.
I never think to go there either. Yeah,
But yeah, there's usually the one consumable crate, maybe two, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, for Fist, that's pretty much the ones that are guaranteed
yeah.
consumable spots.
Right. Next would be Fjellkanten, that we're talking about anyways, in our weird order. Uh, Fjellkanten's a strange one. There are a few different locations you can go looking for heals, um, and your chances, are better than not that you'll find something, but not necessarily guaranteed
Hmm.
on some of these. So like there's the Mountain Ridge Vista, which is a one that's sort of in between. It's kind of in between the flooded caverns, which are near the top of the map, top middle of the map. There's those flooded caverns that can it can spawn a barred house there, but sort of between that and the fallen plain, which is up on the other hill or other mountain or whatever you want to call it, sort of in the
Yeah,
middle is this Mountain Ridge Vista. I think there's a sign there.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's like a billboard type thing.
big billboard kind of sign.
Yeah,
So we can have some heals in some little containers around it. Um, if we're going down the map, or actually right around there, actually, maybe a little bit more north of that is the geologist camp. Or is that what it is?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I
Signals
didn't.
can be there. Yeah. Signals can be there. And you can find some heals there. So that's not a bad location. About mid map is the crashed chopper. So crash chopper will typically have some containers around it, and you can usually find some heals there. And then south of the map, the farthest south is the Church of Surtur. Um, yeah, and within that church, you can usually find some heals. That church. There's another church we'll talk about that's better, but there's this church you can find some stuff. It's not a lot, but you can. Yeah,
It's always that side room next to like
yeah.
it's one of the entrances there.
I think it's
That's where you'll usually find it,
I
right?
think it's at the rectory,
Um,
I think, right? That would be called the rectory, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
Uh, so kind of like going to our next map,
yeah,
Grontheim Valley. So it's basically the same exact building, but on Grontheim it's called the Chapel.
yeah. And that's like in the
Uh,
little populated area, sort of
yeah,
middle, but a little bit south. It's on the one side of the river where there's a bunch of houses, and yeah,
yeah. So basically that same thing. There's the I guess we'll call it the rectory.
yeah,
Like I wasn't quite sure. I was like
yeah.
the little side room next to the
But
altar.
that's where the bed, like I guess the whatever you call them, I don't know if they just call it a priest or a minister or whatever, has a
Yeah,
bed. That's where he, I guess, lives. Okay,
yeah,
but yeah, there's a bunch of heals there.
yeah. You go through like the dressers and stuff like that. There's usually some.
Yeah,
Um, so that's a really good spot to check. Anyways,
yeah.
on Grontheim.
Yeah, in Grontheim, we couldn't really think of any other good places. So if you know of good places on Grontheim, besides the chapel, let us know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we're talking about Brodalen. Brodalen has a few, maybe some not as good as others, but I think the best one on Grontheim would be the campsite.
Mm.
And that's right along the river. There's a spawn right there. There's an exit right there, dig spot as well. And there's that
Yeah.
big yellow house right in the campsite, and there's a few RVs, that kind of place. All around there, there's different containers, and you can find heals in multiple containers around there. So that's a really good spot to
Yes.
look for heals. But then the other couple locations we have are a little iffy, but you can find stuff. There's a restaurant that you can spawn across a river from on the other side of the map, on the west side of the map. It's sort of west and south a little bit.
Yeah.
It's called the Detre Sastrine, and I'm totally butchering that restaurant.
Yeah.
So there can be heals there. Not a lot. Like there might be one container that might have something in it, but it's a location. And
Yeah.
I've been successful in finding heals at this one spot. There's a place. It's sort of a west from that restaurant, over hills and over a street. The location that's closest to it. What is that? It's like
Megan's Grove.
Megan's Grove. Thank you. Yeah, Megan's Grove is the next house up from the one I'm thinking of. So Megan's Grove is a really good location for finding different loot, because there's a big house, there's a garage, and then there's like a little house sort of just down from the big house, and there's also a transformer box there. So that's a really good loot location. But back, closer to the exit that's in that location, is another house. It's a little red house. It's got a truck. It's got looks like some woodworking stuff happening outside the one door. And that little house, I found heals there quite a few times. So it's a good little house to check out, not just for loot, but you can find some heals there. So those are the main three things that we could think of for Brodalen. Yeah.
Okay. Next on the list, Anikken. So Anikken, um, so it's kind of funny. We couldn't think of anything at a named location, but there's
Yeah.
unnamed locations that we could think of. So the northwest exit, there's like a tree. So it's south of like the little burnt down village.
Yeah.
There's a tree on top of a hill, and then there's like one or two benches. Usually there's a consumable crate there. The northeast exit, there's kind of like a T in the road. Kind of between the actual ship and what's the name of the POI? It's like uh, the Northwest. It's like camper fishermen's.
Right. No, that's not Fisherman's Village, because that's the one that's sort of more
Oh,
mid of the map. Um,
okay.
Let me just see here. I'll find it.
So it's the one top. Anyways, far east, top far east, the little village there. So it's between the ship
Crab
and that POI.
Craftsman Village.
Craftsman Village.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's between Craftsman Village and the ship. There's like a T in the road or a fork in the road. And usually there's a comp station that's there on a bench, and usually you'll actually find a consumable crate there as well. Um, and then the other place
The other place is one that
on Anikin,
I'm not
yeah,
100% on, but on there's a little island just north of the lighthouse where Old Man's hut is. There's a couple of houses on the far end of the island from the hut, and I want to think that I found heals there. So I could be wrong though. But I know it's a good loot location, but I think I found heals there. But don't
okay.
quote me on that one. Yeah.
Confirmed. Doc confirms.
No, it's not
Patrick
confirmed. I don't confirm
Priscilla.
anything. But that's Anikken. Yeah. So that's all we could think of for Anikken.
Yeah.
Next would be the forest, Dverg Forest. This was another one where we don't have much that we can think of. There's one specific one that we both remembered right away, and it's a
Yeah.
non-named location. But if you've played a bit, you'll know it. It's near the top of the map. There's the one named location that you can start out that it can have signals. Now it's a big barn, and then just down from that one along the river is the river is called the Filthy Crossing. But then from Filthy Crossing, if you follow the path on the north side of the river, if you keep following that path, it sort of puts you in the up into the hill a bit, but not fully to the top of the
Yeah.
hill. It's sort of in the middle. There's a little blue shack, and it's like one of those little
Workers shed
worker
type
shed
thing.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Around that shack, there's heals. So there'll be like one or two medicine containers, and they'll have usually quite a bit of heals in there. So that's a really good location on that map. Other than that, we couldn't think of much. So again,
Yeah.
on Dverg, if you know of really good locations other than that one blue shed, let us know, because yeah, we'd like
Yeah.
to pad it out. See let everyone know where they can find more heals.
For sure. And then last on our list is Sagbruk. Um, the first one that came to my head was the workers' quarter. So that's the
Yeah.
POI middle bottom exit. Usually there's like at least two, I think, consumable crates around there, if not more. Especially like I found iodine in one of the, it looks like a file cabinet. which
right.
was kind of nice. And next so it's an unnamed spot. It's north of Destroyed Dreams. We kind of talked about it in the Sagbruk episode. Um, there's a spawn location, and it's like a little campsite. There's like 2 or 3 tents, and you could actually get a couple of consumable containers there. And then last on the list, Tourist Rest, which is kind of in the middle of the map. There's like a comm station there, and then usually you get chemicals, but there's usually at least one consumable container there as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's
and
a
aside from that,
location.
Sagbruk,
Yeah. I was going to say that location's one that's like the middle of the map is sort of the big open clearing of the sawmill.
yeah,
And so that location is just up the hills a little bit, just to
yeah,
the west of Sawmill, just across the railroad tracks, and you're going up into the hills a little bit. That's where that Tourist Rest is, if you don't know it off the top of your head.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a weird one. I don't go there very often. I never remember it. I'm usually running around it. Like I'm going not far from it, but I never think to
yeah.
go to it. Yeah.
See, I was go there if I spawn like near the hideout, which where
Mm,
signals is, and
yeah.
that's just like north of it, because I like to swing by because Sawbruk's famous for chemicals, right? And
Yep.
that's like one of the spots I like to hit, and that's how I usually know about it. And so,
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And those are the main ones we could think of for Sagbruk. So yeah, that's the different locations, the different maps, and all the different locations we can think of. Again, let us know in the comments if you know some really good ones that we've missed. It's always good to expand our knowledge and find new places to go investigate. If we're missing them, or try to jog our memory. Sometimes maybe we've been there, just totally forgot about them. But yeah, that's the consumables. So we actually probably talked pretty close to an hour anyways with all this. So
yep.
it's a normal episode. All right. We thought it would be a short one, but when you add everything
And
in,
you were worried, Doc.
and I was worried that we wouldn't have enough time, or we wouldn't have enough to talk about. We did
Yeah.
good.
Yay.
Yay, we did it. Yeah, we don't. And some of these, if you have topic ideas too, let us know. We've been getting suggestions, so we're investigating some of those, and it's not that we're out of suggestion, out of ideas. But it's always good to have some additional ones in the pocket, just so we can
Yeah.
um, change things up a bit, so we're not doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
And we've
yeah,
had like some suggestions that like we need to do some research, and
yeah,
it's not like a short term thing where we could do like just between recording episodes. It's something that like might take like half a season, if not maybe a full season to look into. So
and
uh,
test out or yeah, because I even had an idea and it wasn't for this particular episode, but I had an idea of one that we'll have to do a bunch of playing and testing in game to just to familiarize ourselves with the concept, and then
yeah,
and
yeah,
talk so we
for
can talk about it
science.
for science. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always good. But
But yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Again,
and
oh, before
don't
we do,
forget,
yep,
we are now on Amazon Music and Audible.com.
yep.
And we're still on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcast player,
You should be able to find
Doc's
us.
website too. Um,
Yeah, boardnowgaming.com, BOARD, is where I publish the feed. So you can always even hit the website directly if you wanted to get the feed direct. If you're not using one of those particular spots, you can get it that way. I think there's even a few weird ones that we might be on, because I think I published it to places like Castbox and some other weird ones, and I can't even think of the names. So there might be we might be out there in other ones too.
yeah,
But if you're just using a basic, I use a thing called on my Android phone. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I use one called Beyond Pod, and I can search for pretty much any podcast just within it. It'll find it. I don't know how it aggregates all the different links, so it must have its own search thing going. I don't know. But if I search for a pod and it's out there, maybe it's using Apple's feeds. Who knows? It'll show up. I can subscribe to it and download. So if you have a good podcast app like that, you should be able to find us. If you want to
yeah,
listen to the audio only version, I'm assuming you're seeing this on YouTube. So
yeah,
if you also want to get it through audio only, you have options. So,
yeah.
and we appreciate it. But again, thanks for listening. That's been a wrap for the episode 14. Again, I'm Dr. Anton.
And I'm DJ Spencer.
Okay. And yeah, we'll see you next time, and stay safe in the Outlands. Have a good night.
chance and flame, flame up your